Git is a distributed version control system to track your source code during software development. In this tutorial, we will be looking into 20 essential Git commands to get you started.
Start by creating a local Git repository. So let's start by creating a folder and make that folder a Git folder. I'm creating a folder here. First Git project. Changing to first. Now I want this first Git project to be Git project, so it needs to be initialized. The command we use here is git init, which initializes the Git project. You can also give the project name, or you can just say git init. I'm giving the project name first Git project. So it initialized a project with name first Git project, and if you try to look into the contents of the project, it will show nothing, but it created a .git file. Now it's pointing to master, and if you open the folder in VS Code, so it has nothing in it right now. So let's go ahead and create a file inside this Git folder. I'm creating a file index.html. So now it got created. To check if there are any changes in the Git repository, the command we use is git status. See, it shows on branch master there are no commits yet, but there is an untracked file called index.html. So the command we use to track this index.html file is git add. Either you can do -a, which adds all the untracked files, or you can give the name of the file. Now, if you check the status again, if you see this, now this is in green color instead of red. That means it got tracked. Now we need to push this file and this Git repository to GitHub or GitLab. So for that, we need to commit with a message. Git commit, the command is git commit -m and message. I'm typing my first Git project. That's it. So it says the committer, that's me with my MacBook. Your name and email address were not configured automatically based on your username and host name. Please check it. So it says now we need to push this to GitHub. So we need to configure the email address for the GitHub or GitLab or whatever you're using. So now I will use this command and use my email ID to push it to my GitHub. Git configuration is the command to config the user for your local environment. So it makes sure when you are pulling something from GitHub or pushing something to GitHub, it will add the user tag to that. When it say -- global, it means it sets the properties for whole of my Mac. So if I close my terminal now and open it later, it will still be accessible. So I'm adding my email ID. So it added now. Now what I am trying to do is I have to push this to GitHub. So one way to do it is I can go to GitHub here and create a new project saying first Git project. I don't have this with us, so I'll give the description. This is my first Git tutorial project, and I will make it a public repository, and I created the repository. Once you create the repository, so we need to push to this project on GitHub. So I need to set the remote to this. So the local should be pointing to this in order for me to push my repository here. So let me copy this command. The command is I'm adding the root of this folder, remoting it to this Git repository. So the command is git remote add origin and that URL that I copied from here. So now So the remote is set to this location, to this user and this project. Now I will be pushing this git push origin master. Master is the branch name that I'm giving. So I'm already in master branch. Even though I do git push, it should be going, but it's safe to give. So for you to check in any code to GitHub, the command we use is git push. Git push is the command that we use to push the code. So it's asking me for my key phrase. So yeah, now if you go here and refresh it, see the index.html is here. So we have looked so far the first git init, which initializes the git repository, and we created a file and used the command git status, which shows what are the changes that we made. In the first place, we didn't have any tracked files, so it showed in red. And now we added that file. The command to track the file is to git add command to track the file. And when we look at the status again, it showed green because we tracked that file. And the third command we learned is git commit. For you to push, you need to commit the changes before pushing a reasonable message. So if you made a change to particular addition operation, the message should be like changes to addition operation. And then once I committed, for you to push to GitHub, you need to set the local user who is pushing to GitHub, and so that GitHub can check if the user has access to push to that repository. So that is my repository, so I will be having access. The command we used to configure that is git config ---- global and gave my email ID there. Next thing we did is I want this repository to push to my Git, so I need to add the remote here. The command for that is git remote add origin and the link to the repository I created on GitHub. And the final command that we looked here is the git push command, which pushes to that Git repository, and the master here is the branch. Now let's go ahead and make the changes to index.html and see how does it look this time. So let's add a HTML tag. That's it. So I go back to my terminal, and if I looked on the git status, see, again it showed red saying index.html is modified. Whereas if you see here, it's untracked and it said new file. Here it said modified file. So you can do multiple things with it. Either you can stage it. That means you want to keep these changes aside and you want to work on that later, but not on this repository. For that, you can use stage. We will look into that later. And if you want to push this, first you need to track this change. For that, the command we use is git add. I will use -a this time, which means it adds all the changes. Once I added it, I need to commit the changes before I push it. So the changes I made is added an HTML tag. So I'm using the command git commit -m added HTML tags. So it says your name and email address were configured automatically on your username and hostname. Please check they are accurate. So that's good. I will go ahead and push these changes. The command to push the changes is git push origin and the branch name master. And it asks for my security key because I had SSH on GitHub, which is like a password. Generally it asks for your password to the GitHub, so you can give that password. Let me go back here and refresh it. See, the last commit is 1 minute ago, and if you see this, there you go, my tag is here. So that's git push. Now let's look what other commands we have most commonly used. The command I will be using to see what are the most common commands that are being used is git help. This is not just to view the most commonly used commands, but also if you are not sure what a particular command is supposed to do, you can do like git help and give that command. We will look into that soon. So I'm typing the command git help. So it shows, see, all the commands, what are all the sub commands that can be given. So we looked into this command git init for the creating an empty Git repository or reinitializing an existing one that we already looked into it. We already looked into add command, which add file contents to index. We haven't looked into these three commands, but we will look into that. We looked into push command, which actually we push it to GitHub, and we also looked into the status command, which showed what are the changes, and we also looked into commit command, which records the message for that particular commit. We will be looking into these commands now that are commonly used. So let's say if I don't know what the command branch is going to do, I will type git help branch, which should show me like all the subcommands that are there, and it also gives a brief description of everything. It has a lot of stuff here. So we'll look into some of the useful stuff in the branch. So now our Git repository has only one branch called master. You can verify that by going here. If you see here, it's master, and if I clicked on the drop down button, there are no other branches, but you can create branches. So generally what you do in the working environment is you will work all your code in a development branch rather than on the master branch. The master branch is generally used to push to production. So you make the changes in a develop branch, or you can give a different name to the branch. Let's create a branch quickly here. So the command to create a branch is git. We will look into this option -a, which shows all the branches. Git branch -a. See, it showed master and remote origin branch. To actually create the command we use is checkout branch, which switches from one branch to other. And if there is no branch, you can create one by doing that. Git checkout -b and the branch name development branch. If you see here, it switched from master to development, and we are in the development branch, but still, if you look here, it still shows only one branch. So we need to push this branch to GitHub. We'll check the status. So there is nothing changed from what we have checked out from master to development. So if you see this green color, it depends on your terminal setup, but it means everything is committed and there are no more changes to be committed. So I can just directly push this development branch using the command git push origin development. It will create a new branch on GitHub and your code changes will be pushed there. There you go. Let's go back and see if it got created the branch. See, you can see the development branch here, but master is the default branch. Now we will play around with checkout and all other different commands. Now I am in development branch. I want to switch back to master branch. Since master branch already exists, I will do git checkout master. It says it didn't match anything. Let me check out just master. So the command I will use is git checkout master. There you go. It switched back to master. So you don't have to give actually origin. Generally, you give that origin when you are pushing code to GitHub, but when you are checking out a different branch which is already there, you can just type git checkout and the branch name. So let's see if you can see all the branches. We will use the same command as we used earlier, git branch -a. It showed two branches, and if you see this, the star means the current working branch is master and development is a current working branch. Now let's go ahead and switch back to development branch. So I want to work everything in development branch, not on the master branch. I switch back to development branch. I'm going to my code editor. I'll create a new file called styles.css. When I go back to my terminal and check the status, see, it turned into yellow because the change has not yet committed. So I need to track the file. For that, the command we use is git add -a. Sorry, it's a capital A, git add capital A. So it added it. Now I need to commit the change, git commit -m styles added. See, it turned back to green, which means we committed all the changes. Now the other command I want to look into is the diff command. So let's go ahead and see what it says. The diff command shows the difference between the changes you made and the previous version from your local history. So let's go ahead and make some changes to index.html. So here I have my index.html with just the HTML tag, and I will have a body tag here. Saved it. Let's go back and see the differences in the index file. So git diff and just type the file name. You can see earlier it was just the HTML tags, and now it's a HTML with a body tag. If you see this minus and plus, these are the deletions, and plus means these are the additions that got added to the file. So the diff command is used to see the differences between the previous version and the current version. Now I will go ahead and push these changes to the development branch. Git push origin development. Now I have this pushed. If you go back to GitHub, do this and go to the development branch, see, you have your CSS styles and index.html got updated with the body. See, if you see here, you can raise a pull request and merge it to the master. That's what it is recommending you to do here. But let's see if we can do that on command line. There is a command called git merge where you can merge from one branch to other branch when there are no conflicts. So the command I was talking about is this command git merge. It joins two or more development histories together. So let's see how to do that. So let's go back to master branch. And I want to merge development branch to master branch. So git merge development. If there are any conflicts, it will show up here. If not, it will try to merge it. See, it's updating, and the fast forward version is index.html has like 4 additions and 1 deletion, and CSS style file has been added with a create mode. So let's go back and see if development branch got merged to master branch. So if we go to master branch here, it didn't show anything here because I merged the development branch to master branch but haven't pushed the changes back to master branch in GitHub. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. Git push. There you go. It got pushed. Now let's go back and see. If you see here, the changes are committed back to master. That means the merging already happened. There you go. If you see it, the body tag has been added here and the styles.css file has been added. So that's git merge for you. So if you see here, apart from branches, you see another one called tags. That means you can create a tag from master and you can push that tag to production or whichever environment you wanted, because it says to create a tag. Tag is nothing but it's like a branch from master, which is part of the master. What happens is if any of your new changes got messed up, you can revert back to that particular tag instead of looking into the Git history and looking into all the changes. So you can create a tag for your production release number 1 or production release number 2, or you can even mention the feature there. So if that feature got messed up in production, so you can go ahead and look into that tag and see what are the changes instead of backtracking everything there. So let's go ahead and create a tag. So the command I will be using is git tag. So it created a tag. I need to push the tag. The git status doesn't show any changes because we created a different tag. Now let's go ahead and push the tag. It's similar to how we pushed our master branch or development branch. Git push origin, and the tag name is 1.0.0. It created a new tag 1.0.0. If you go back to GitHub, there is a tag 1.0.0 with the changes from master. So it has been created from master. Now let's look into the other command, git fetch. Git fetch, what it does is you have a project cloned to your local and somebody else is also working onto your project and created something. It will fetch all the changes. Let's see a demo of it. Let's go ahead and create a branch called testing1. I created a branch called testing1 which got created from master branch. Let us go back and try to check out this testing1 branch. It says testing1 branch did not match any files known to Git. What happened is you created a branch on GitHub, but your local is not synced up with that. In order to get that branch to your local, you need to use the command git fetch. If I see what branches are there in local, so it showed me a development branch, a fetch test branch, and a master branch, and the remote branches development and master. But there is no branch called testing1. Let's do the command git fetch. Once I ran the command, see, it says the new branch origin testing1 has been fetched from the GitHub. Now if I type the command git branch -a again, it will show the testing1 branch, and I haven't checked out to local yet. That is the reason it is not showing up here. Let's go ahead and do that. Git checkout testing1. Now I'm able to check out this branch called testing1. The command we used is git fetch to update the Git repository, so that if anybody make any changes to the repository while you are working on your current branch, and if they pushed any different branches, you will be able to fetch this. The other command we will look into is git pull. Let's say the git fetch command doesn't make any changes to your local branch. If I go back to development branch, if I go back to my editor and refresh it, it doesn't have any changes. The git fetch, it doesn't apply any changes to your working directory. Let's look into the next command, git pull command, and what does it say? Let's say I go here, go to the development branch and make changes to index.html here, and I will add a div tag here. I will add one more div tag here, and I will push directly here on GitHub. So if I go back here, you think the git fetch, if I do a git fetch, you think it would pull all the changes. It didn't actually update your local workspace. The command we need to use to get all the updates that were made on the remote to your local is the command git pull. If I do a git pull origin development, see, you can see there are 5 additions to that, and if you go back here and see, it already updated all those things here. So it's pretty cool that way. When somebody pushed some changes to the branch that you are working in, you can use the git pull command to keep up to date. The other command we will look into is a simple git log command. What does git log is? Git log shows all the commit history to that particular branch. If I say git log, so you can see all the commit history and all the commit tags. Next command we will look into is a git grep command. If you are familiar with a Vim editor, the grep is basically you are searching into the whole file. If I want to search for a particular word in the whole file, I can use a grep command. So I want to look if there is a HTML tag in the index.html. For that, I will type git grep HTML and the file name. So it will give me the HTML is present at this place and at this place in index.html. So the grep command is used to search within the file. If it's a large file, it makes it so easy to look into one of the files. So the next command we will look into is a git move command, where you can move one file from one place to other place, or you can rename the file. So let's look into that. Git move. I want to rename the file index.html to index1.html, and I will use the command git move, and the new name index2.html. So if you see here, it turned into yellow because if you see what are files in there, there is no index.html anymore. It's index2.html. So we need to push this change if we wanted to, but I will move it back to index.html instead of index2. So yeah. And the other command is git rm command. If you want to remove a file from the repository, the command we need to use is git remove. git rm and the file name. If you type ls, see there is only index.html and no more styles.css. If you want to remove all the files, the command we need to use is git rm -a, like rm-rf. If you want to remove all the files in a folder, the general command you use is rm-rf. So it's similar to that. One other important command that I want to show is git clone. So all this time we have been creating the Git repository in your local and pushing it to the GitHub. But if you want to clone a repository from GitHub, the command we need to use is git clone. Let me go back to my parent directory. I went back to my GitHub and I have a couple of projects, Codeathon. If I want to clone this project, I will grab this URL and go here. The command I need to use is git clone and the Git repository URL.
If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel Hack Reef and please hit that like button. Thank you.